welcome to Hatha this afternoon. Today's practice, we are going to use a block if you have one or something similar to it. I know one of you's got something handy that you found at home that'll work. We are going to start our practice just like usual on our back. So if you feel good going to your back, let's start there. I'm gonna start us with a little opening intention. One of my favorite ways to set our practice is by pick a card, any card. So today I'm going to draw a card from Power Thought Cards by Louise Hay, and we'll see how it does for us today. This is a good one. Okay, so today's opening intention says, it's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. I am not limited by any past thinking. I choose my thoughts with care. I constantly have new insights and new ways of looking at my world. I am willing to change and grow. It's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. So as you rest here on your back, trying to start this practice with us today, thoughts are common, kind of flood in and out. And I can't make you send all of those thoughts away and empty your mind completely, but we can bring our focus to our breath. So if you feel comfortable doing so, we're going to bend the knees, walk the feet up the mat, set the feet just slightly behind the glutes, place your hands on your belly, and then just let your knees fall into one another and rest in constructive rest. As you inhale, you'll feel your belly rise up towards the ceiling. As you exhale, you'll feel a gentle floating down of the spine moving, or the belly button moving towards that spine. So just taking your time, creating some space in this belly breath. And of course, if this subtle little stretch to the knees or the hips doesn't really feel well to you, maybe your feet are tucked in too close. It might feel better to kind of walk the feet slightly down the mat. And then just let those knees roll in towards one another till they touch. Continue to deep breathe, inviting in that slow, gentle inhale and allowing for a slow, easy release on the exhale. On your next natural inhale, go to set those knees apart from one another, facing up towards the sky. You're going to extend your right leg long down the mat, and then walk your left foot in so it comes right along the inside of the right leg. When you feel ready, you're going to let this left knee fall out and open to the side. It might go all the way down to the ground or just slightly open. I'm going to take my right toes and flex those up towards the ceiling, and then remove my hands from my belly and stretch them way up overhead. I look like I'm doing tree pose, resting on the earth. Take just a couple more easy breaths here. Finding your inhale and your exhale. As your next natural inhale comes around, gently allow those hands to move down along the side of the body. We'll stand this left knee back up towards the ceiling, and then just give it a little hug. Start to bring it in towards the chest. Hands may come to the front of the shin or to the back of the leg, knowing you can always soften this right leg if you need to, but if you can keep that right leg long, it might feel nice. We're going to bring the left knee over and across the body, just giving us a minimal twist, not a big twist, just something small to kind of open up that spine. You're only going to be here for a breath or two. Perfect. Next natural inhale, that knee will start to move back towards center. Foot rests down onto the earth. And then we're going to switch legs. So now I'm going to extend my left leg long. I'm going to walk this right foot up the mat so that it's close to the inside edge of that left leg. Flex my left toes to the sky as my right knee falls out to the side. Take yourself to tree again. Maybe arms reach up overhead like they did before and really stretch towards that wall behind you, adding lots of length to the spine, openness to the hips. Softening your gaze on the ceiling or maybe even closing your eyes. Knowing that each thought that comes into the mind is just a thought. And we can let go of those thoughts and just stay right here in this peaceful moment just by focusing on our breath. Arms are going to start to move themselves back down towards the sides of the body. We'll stand that right knee up. And then maybe invite it in towards the chest. It might feel good to grab it at the shin or the back of the thigh. It might feel nice to point and flex the toes or roll around the ankle here a little bit. And then if and when you feel ready, we'll just start to welcome this over and across the body to take that same twisting shape you took before. Keep it soft. It doesn't have to be the biggest twist you can find in your body. It's early. Sometimes twists feel really nice early on in the practice, and sometimes they're rather difficult for us. Perfect. As you feel ready, take your time. Start to come back to center with that knee. We'll drop it back down towards the earth. Both feet touch the ground. So we're going to bend both knees. And then take that similar tree shape, but now you're going to let both knees fall out to the side, recline bound angle. Inhale to reach the hands up over your head. Make your spine nice and long. And then exhale, bring the hands down on either sides of the hips. Stand the knees back up to ceiling. And then you're going to separate the feet about hip distance apart just to let them windshield wiper right and left, inviting in that same twisting motion we took before, but it's kind of a little more fluid now because we're just kind of sweeping those knees right and left. And then we'll hug the knees into the chest, both knees taking their time to move in closer, hands to the shins or to the backs of the thighs. And then we'll just take one little letter L here on our back before we start to get up to feet. So just stretch the feet to the sky, the arms up overhead, really looking for length down the backside body. It might feel nice to point and flex your toes. If that feels good, feel free. You can even bend your knees here a little bit. All right, and then just take your time. Build a little momentum here, bringing the knees in towards chest. You can rock forward and back on the spine a little bit until you're up to your feet. And then when you find your spine rooted into the ground, go ahead and find a crisscross shape. I'm going to bring my hands out to the sides and my spine nice and tall. If that feels like it works for you, feel free. Just roll those shoulders down your back. Really sit up tall. We got lots of space in the studio tonight, so feel free to just take nice full breaths anytime you feel comfortable doing so. Those of you at home, you got that same luxury. Inhale, reach the hands as high as they can go up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, let the right hand fall to the earth, followed by the left hand reaching just outside that right knee. Inhale, bring the hands back up, and then we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So you're adding side body here, and then you're putting in a little twist by closing that door. We're going to do this 2 more times on both sides, so a total of 3. Just take your time. Over, close, open, lift. So match it maybe with your breath. Exhaling and inhaling, maybe trying to stretch the length of your breath a little longer. This is the last one on each side. depending on where you feel tight, you may feel like you want to hold one of those shapes a little longer than the other. Pretty normal. That's great if you can learn to listen to that. And then just soften everything down into your heart. Hands are going to move to the fronts of the knees for some flexion breath. It's pretty simple. As you inhale, slide the heels of your hands back towards your hip creases, chest opens, maybe chin lifts. Exhale, breath, hands move forward, shoulders roll, chin towards chest. And then just continue to float through that. Palms, chin, chest, round the back, round the spine. 2 more. Last one. Perfect. From here, we'll start to work ourselves onto hands and knees, looking for tabletops. So remember, this is a Hatha practice, so sometimes it feels a little disjointed. We're kind of taking shapes, staying there for a moment, then taking a new shape, and then staying there for a moment. So just take your time to find that tabletop. If it feels good to kind of sway right and left, maybe the outer edges of your hips feel a little tight, or your knees don't like the ground, so you kind of want to move around, that works too. We're going to just kind of shift back and forth between a child's pose with hips back towards heels. And then as an inhale breath comes, you're going to bring yourself up towards half plank. So your hands are just slightly out, a little further than they probably would have been at a tabletop. Wrists and shoulders in line. And then when you exhale, you'll send your hips back. So it's going to be a lot more stretch for your upper back and shoulders because it's a bigger space than just moving back and forth from a tabletop to a child's pose. So that half plank and then back to your child's pose. Your inhale is probably your half plank, and then your exhale is probably your child's pose. Give yourself one more fluid movement with breath here. And then the next time you're back onto those heels for child, stay there. Start to walk the hands towards the right edge of your mat and pause. Letting your hands reach off to the right edge of the mat. Sitting towards that left hip. We're going to stay here for about 2 more full, complete breaths. So sitting back towards that left foot, arms reaching towards the right edge of the mat. Breath is fluid. Perfect. Take your time. Start to walk hands back to the center, and then we'll send them all the way over to the other side. Stretching in opposite direction, reaching, sitting into that hip. Take your time. Perfect. As you feel ready, hands start to move their way back towards the center of the mat. We're going to bring ourselves up to hands and knees, and then take that same cat-cow shape you were taking seated. So your belly drops down on your inhale, your chin and tail lift, and then your exhale is that rounded spine. It's the same thing we were doing when we were on our seat. They harbor a lot of stress and tension, physical kind of aches in the body, right in between those shoulder blades, all throughout our neck. Just spending a little bit of time concentrating on those 2 spaces here. Now, the next time you finish that cat spine, pause there. And then just come back to a relaxed table. So see if you can take the crown of your head, let it point forward. Hands or knees are still on the ground. And then I just want you to drop your chin down into your chest and start giving yourself just a little shake or nod yes. And then we'll repeat kind of that same movement, bring it back to center, crown of the head pointing straight forward, and then just kind of sway a little bit right and left with your chin. All right, perfect. Exhale, breath shifts back to child's pose. Walk your right hand as far forward as you feel comfortable doing so. And then just stretch your left hand straight out to the side, like you're trying to create the letter L. You should feel a nice stretch move all down that right side body. Now the left hand that's out to the side might even start to walk its way down towards your feet. So you've got right hand long up the mat and left hand kind of reaching palm facing down perhaps as it reaches back towards your feet. Now it may not get all the way there. It might just get kind of towards the edge of the mat, but reaching in that general direction. If you feel like you can pull that left hand around and grab the heel of your left foot, feel free. Perfect. Take your time. Left hand's going to start to move back up towards the front of the mat, and then we just repeat everything on the other side. So left hand's long, right hand looks for that L shape. Of course, you can widen your knees here if you need a little more space for your belly, or you can come up and reset if your child's pose starts to feel kind of achy on those knees. You can throw a blanket or a towel underneath the knees or underneath the ankles. Start to watch that right hand. Send it back towards your right foot. Maybe hand even comes around and grabs that right heel. Perfect. Ease that back forward. So now we've got both hands up the front of the mat, lifting back up towards hands and knees. Put yourself in that half plank we were in earlier. Wrists under shoulders, knees back towards the back of the mat, toes curled under. Exhale, lower down. Keep the elbows close to the sides of the body. Give yourself one cobra lift. Hands near the armpits, pelvis in the earth, tops of the thighs. Exhale, back down. Walk the hands, one big hand step back near the breastbone. Curl the toes under, half plank or full plank. And then find your first downward facing dog. Let's practice together. So our hips are lifted nice and high. And we just start taking time, walk that out. Send those hips up towards the ceiling, but then as well back towards that wall behind you there. My body is so creaky today. It's like I haven't done this in a long time. It's so bizarre. I'm doing more yoga than I've done in a long time again, and I'm creaking like I haven't moved around very much. All right, take your time. Small steps of the feet. Walk them forward up towards your hands. Take a half lift, long spine, crown points forward, hands towards shins. Exhale, fold back down into the earth. Plant those feet nice and sturdy. Inhale, breath, hands reach tall when you're ready. And then maybe they exhale to a cactus shape. Couple half sun salutations. So these are simple. Inhale is up. Exhale is towards the floor. Inhale is halfway lifted. Long spine, crown is forward. Perfect. Exhale, fold. Those look nice. Inhale, back up tall. Maybe cactus, maybe the letter Y, or maybe you just bring your hands to your heart. When you're ready, you'll just repeat the same movement. Always inhaling up, always exhaling down. This becomes somewhat of a moving meditation. Following the pace of your breath. Next time you finish that cactus shape, just bring the hands into the heart. Inhale, breath here fills the chest with air. Exhale, breath, bend your knees. Take your hands to the outer edge of your left knee. So I'm going to turn a little bit forward so you can see what I'm doing here. Inhale, breath, hands come back up here towards your heart. You stand tall, and then you go the other side. So you're just going to float back and forth here. Inhaling up, exhaling down. Obviously, when we take chair like this, we want to make sure our knees are slightly back behind our toes. All muscles of the legs, ankles, feet are turned on. Of course, if you need less challenge, you're going to widen your feet. If you want more challenge, you'll pull your toes closer together. All right, I think we started on the left, so you should be back to center. Pause there. Inhale, reach both hands up, this time traditional chair, so just take your time to sit. Maybe arms are out and open and forward. You might even turn the pinkies to find one another, really reaching out through the fingertips, and then just fold. Exhale, hands down towards the earth. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, fold. We're going to step our right foot back, right knee drops to the ground, and then just ease your way up. Looking for a little kneeling lunge here. Perfect. Now, just like we did in that child's pose, we're going to keep the opposite arm. So we're going to get a little fancy. So the knee that's forward, that left hand is going to come out towards the side, and you're going to create your L shape like we were doing when we were in our child's pose. I'm going to take the hand that's in the sky and turn it as if I was like going to knock on a wall straight in front of me. That hand's going to point forward, and the opposite hand's going to point out here to the side. Seems complicated, and it is on purpose. Helps give our brain something to focus on here, really giving us some good shoulder work, along with stretching that hip flexor on the back leg. As you exhale, bring this left hand down by your hip. Turn your right hand, so now it faces towards that left wall, and reach over towards the left side. Inhale, breath, both hands reach back up. Exhale, cartwheel forward towards the ground. Now this is a great place if you have one or two blocks. If it's handy, you can use it. Feel free to reach for that block or jar of peanut butter. Pull those toes back towards your face. Give yourself the option to use one or both blocks just to kind of help save the back here, because a lot of times we tend to hunch over if we don't have the necessary flexibility in this shape. All right, taking your time, this foot that is pointed back towards you, that left foot, we're going to bring it down to the earth. Hands can go on blocks if you want them, one or both blocks. You'll curl the toes under on that back knee, lift the back knee up off the ground. Now, if you're only using one block, ideally it would probably be in your right hand. Left foot is forward, holding that lunge, one more breath. If you're feeling like you'd like to add a twist, right hand can stay on the floor or on a block. Left hand can open out to the side. Obviously, keeping those hips nice and square is really important here. We don't want to tweak either one of your knees. Perfect. Take the hand that's in the sky, sweep it forward towards your ear, down towards the floor. Step the front foot to the back of the mat, either to downward facing dog, child's pose, or those of you who like to vinyasa, you can move through a plank, chaturanga, dandasana, to up dog, into your down dog. That series of vinyasas, those three interconnected movements that can be thrown in there anytime you want to kind of turn up the heat a little bit in your practice. All right, friends, when you feel ready, take your time. Feet might walk slowly back up towards your hands, or hands moving kind of halfway towards your feet. And then meeting there in the middle, half lift when you feel ready. Exhale, fold, plant those feet, number 11, big reach, look, tall with the spine. Exhale, cactus. Hands move into the heart. Exhale, sink the knees, take your hands to the left side, back up to the heart, the right side, back up to the heart, and then a full chair. Arms are up, extended, sink, long spine, grounded feet. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come up halfway. Hands fall, left foot steps back. left knee looks for the ground. Get yourself grounded here. So kind of play around with how far apart you want this front foot from that back knee. How you feel comfortable on the ground. Hands might come up. And then just like what we did before, the left hand's going to turn so it kind of faces forward like if we were going to knock on a wall there. The right arm comes down. I'm going to run out of space. But ideally, it's pointed straight out to the side to give you that L shape. And you can lean into this front knee if you're looking for more, or you can pull back off if you're looking for less. One more nice breath here. Give your brain kind of a mess of things to think about. You'll turn your left hand so now it faces towards that right wall. Right hand falls down to the side, and then you take that big stretch over. You, of course, can always add that block here. Whatever you're using to lean onto. Perfect. Take your time, hands start to come back up tall, and then this is where we add our counter pose. So that knee starts to straighten in the front. You might bring, if you're using one block, it's going to go in your left hand this time. Toes might come back towards your face, and you're always paying attention. Make sure that that spine is nice and long, but the hinge is always happening back here in your hip crease rather than this big arch up here in the upper part of your spine. You want to see if you can keep that cervical spine, your thoracic spine nice and extended. All right, as we feel ready, front foot starts to look for the earth. Left hand comes forward on a block or on the floor, knee comes up off the ground. Now you can kind of hang out here for a few moments, play around with length in that back leg, really see how much extension you can get, not only out of that quad and calf and hip flexor, but maybe you add a twist like you did before, lifting this right hand up. And this back knee may want to play tricks on you, so you may have to kind of come down and reset it, because every once in a while when we try to twist, we might end up kind of shifting that kneecap, and if you do, it'll ache. You'll feel it. There'll be some kind of crunching or pain happening with that knee that we certainly don't want. If you need to bring that back knee down, no, you can always drop it to the earth and reset, or just stay there. Hands closing the gates. Maybe they roll up towards your ear like we did last time and kind of move down towards the earth. You can take that same big step of front foot to the back, or we can drop to our knees and take a more gentler child's pose, or those of you who want the vinyasa like we did before, it can go right here. But here comes your discipline, just staying in a downward facing dog for a couple breaths. Making your mind stay right here in this space. That's when yoga becomes so much more than just physical poses and asana that we take ourselves through. There's a lot of mental strength and practice that's involved with the yoga practice, the yoga time, the sessions, if you will. All right, taking your time, knees are going to drop down towards earth. Sit back towards your heel, child's pose. Hands both this time are going to walk back towards your heels. Maybe they even grab onto the feet if your body allows. If that works for you to grab your hands towards your heels or back onto your feet, you can certainly start to roll up onto the crown of your head and give yourself something that's called rabbit pose. So this is a big stretch of upper back and shoulders. Now this doesn't work for everyone. So if it doesn't, you may just find your hands kind of hanging out here on your low back or even on your hips. You have options, heels, low back, hips. But see if you can kind of roll up onto the top of your head, almost like you think you could do a headstand right now. Of course, if that causes any kind of pain in your neck, wouldn't want to do that. But if you're feeling okay in your neck, just see if you can take another breath there. Flipping your world upside down. You can even open your eyes for a little bit. It makes you kind of feel playful. So look back between your feet. See the world upside down. All right, then just start to roll off the top of your head. Let your shoulders get kind of loose here. We're going to stay in a child's pose just for a couple breaths. One of the things that you will learn throughout yoga is that most poses have something called a counter pose, something that's going to follow to make sure that we safely exit the poses. If we do poses out of order, or we don't include those counter poses, that's where you can end up hurt or just at minimum really dizzy. So just giving yourself a moment to come out of that upside down shape, put yourself in child's pose. All right, good work. Just take your time to graduate up out of that child's pose. Hands are going to come to the ground, and we're going to do something a little different than what we usually do from here. You're going to curl your toes under. You're going to put your hands as close as you can get them towards your knees. And then you're just going to push some weight back into your feet and bring yourself into a little squat. Now, if you can stay here, great. If this doesn't feel very good to you, you can certainly lift your hips and just go into a forward fold. We're going to eventually get ourselves back up to standing, but it's just a different way to get up onto our feet. Chest relaxing onto the tops of those thighs if you can, or maybe coming up a little taller to a tall spine. You can turn this into kind of like a toe stand too if you really want to work on your quads, like lift a little higher up off those heels, point the hands straight out. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Yep. All right, take your time. Hands move down towards the crown. Start to stand up. Maybe your hips come up first, or maybe you just use a nice full inhale and bring everything up. Reaching tall and then settling down. All right, so we're going to get ourselves into a warrior from here, which might seem kind of not a regular way to do that, but we're going to keep our left foot towards the back of the mat. Step your right foot forward, bend your right knee. Start to turn your left toes out. You're looking for warrior one first. So you've got a bent knee, forward, arms up. I'm going to switch so I can kind of see everybody at home and here. So hands are nice and tall, arms are reaching up towards the sky, shoulders are relaxing. Give yourself eagle arms here. So the same knee that's forward, that arm's going to come to 90, other arm comes underneath, and we start to make eagle arms. Now you can stay in this eagle shape, maybe fully wrapped or letter X or some version in between there for another round of breath. All right, softening those arms, let those come down and open. Spin up onto this back foot, and then you're going to put weight into this front knee as the back leg steps up, and then make eagle legs on this side. So you've got standing right leg, left leg comes over. Arms can stay here, or the leg that's on top, that's the arm that goes under. If you want to do the full extension of eagle today, you can wrap around and get all really twisty pretzel-y today, if that works. The tighter you squeeze those thighs together and the deeper you sink, oftentimes a little bit more control we can find here. But there is a fine line between squeezing and pushing too far, and then we really lose our balance. So just kind of be graceful in terms of what you expect from your body. Perfect. Give yourself a big exhale breath. Let the arms come apart, step the feet apart, and just kind of move around a little bit on your mat. You hear me popping from the way over there, don't you? I don't know what's wrong. Like I'm pop, pop, pop everywhere tonight. Yeah. We're going to keep the left foot forward. No, right foot forward, left foot goes back. Does that sound right? Are we on the other leg? I was mirroring you and then not mirroring you, so now I don't remember. Okay, you want to be doing eagle on the other side. So for me, that's backwards of what I just said, I think. I think we should have our left foot forward. Is that right? Somebody at home? Get yourself on the other side. I don't know. For me, it's my right knee, but I think it's your left knee. Get yourself in warrior one. Whatever knee is bent, that arm makes 90. We're trying to make the other side. Now I know I'm right, but I don't know if I told you right. I don't know if I cued it right. But I know in my body, I'm doing the other side. That's what you're looking for, that same warrior one. This would be a moment where I wish you weren't mute at home so that you could just yell at me and say, what are you doing? Already did that leg. You guys know. Very rarely do I make you do the same thing twice on the same leg, so most of the time we go back and forth. Once this starts to feel complete, a big exhale of your arms like you did before, they come down by your hips. You start to twist up on these back toes. Weight is going to go into that standing front leg. Stand up and then invite it over right away. Crisscrossing to create eagle on the other side. Now, whatever leg is on the top, that's the arm that goes on the bottom. If you decide you'd like to take the full eagle, you're welcome to. It's a big pose, but you can be in just kind of a hug. I've got a toe tap here. This is where your jar of peanut butter can be underneath that foot, or your block if you want a little assistant in your eagle. But from what I can see, those of you at home, you look like you're handling it well. No one has left the room, at least. You guys look great. All right, big exhale, reach it wide. Spread the feet as wide as the mat. Give yourself a big forward fold. So this is going to turn into ragdoll. Arms are up. And then just take your time to fold down towards the earth. Let your right hand reach for your left elbow, your left hand to reach for your right elbow. And just kind of sway around here a little bit. All right, as you feel ready, hands fall down towards the earth. Inhale, breath, bring them up halfway. Exhale, fold. Big inhale, bring yourself all the way up to standing. Hands are just going to open out to the sides, make a T, and then bring them in and place them at your heart. You're going to turn sideways on your mat. Doesn't matter what direction. Just put yourself wide on your mat. Like I said, it doesn't matter which way you go. And if you have a block handy, this would be where it would be nice to have it nearby. Now, not all of us are going to need a block. Your flexibility may be in such a way today that you don't need this. But you're going to reach wide with feet and hands, making a big star shape. And then when you feel ready, we're going to exhale by reaching the hands straight out in front of us first. Hinge right at that hip crease, start to fall down towards the ground. Hands are either going to go to a flat block to the earth or to a block slightly elevated. When you feel ready, right hand's going to position itself right underneath the face on a block or on the ground. Inhale, breath will open the left hand up towards the ceiling, giving yourself a nice twist of the spine. Stay here, 2 more breaths. So you might feel a slight tug of the muscles on the inner thigh. You might feel a little twisting through the obliques. You might have some tension building in your neck. If that happens, see if you can soften that shoulder a little bit. Really allow the crown of your head to continue to reach forward. Beautiful. Next natural exhale is going to close that door. Let it come down. Look for your block. Switch sides. Opposite hand underneath the face, either on the block or not. And then reaching up. Ideally, we're stopping this hand when it is even with the hand that's on the earth. We really don't need the extra bonus points to try to pull this arm back behind us. That's not really what we're looking for. We want some length out through those fingertips. We want all the twist to be happening here right at the core, along with a nice good stretch on that inner thigh. One more breath. Beautiful work. Take your time. Exhale, let this float back down. Find the block. 3 half lifts. Maybe use the block even higher now if you'd like to let that flat back flatten out. Too many consonants wanting to jump out of my mouth just then. So flat back and then float back down. One more, flat back and then float back down. A little bit of challenge now as the heels turn in towards one another, knees bend, hands come away from the block, and you go to kind of a goddess shape or just a nice wide-legged squat with bent elbows. If you want the challenge, right heel lifts, right heel lowers, left heel lifts, left heel lowers. Now, if you didn't give yourself a Charlie horse by doing that, you can keep going back and forth, or you can try to lift both heels up off the ground. Now, to soften out of this, heels are back on the earth. You're going to relax the arms down, let them fall near the hips across the front of you, and then inhale, straighten the legs, lift the arms. Perfect. Take it to that T, hands reaching in opposite directions. Right toes turn completely to the side. Left toes turn towards the side of your mat. So you look like you're in a triangle now. Let those right hands start to reach forward towards that right straight leg, and then take yourself into triangle. Beautiful. Ease away from that. So take your time, maybe even bending this knee. Maybe you take it into reverse triangle or even reverse warrior, so you can have a bent knee or a straight leg. And then we'll come back. Switch your feet. So whatever foot was out, now forward. The left foot turns out. Right foot's parallel with the back of your mat. Take your time to reach forward first and then tip to find that triangle. Holding that triangle shape. Inhale, breath, back up. Reverse triangle or reverse warrior. So you can have a knee bent for warrior, legs straight for triangle, depending on what group of muscles want the most tension. And then just shift it back to that 5-pointed star. Both feet are pointed towards the side of the mat, arms are wide. And then just relax those arms down. A little bit of work for feet muscles now, ankle muscles, heel, toe, those feet back underneath of you. Perfect. And then you're just going to take a big step all the way up to the front of your mat. Last half sun salutation. So lots of length out through your fingers on your inhale. Lots of exhale. Pull down towards the earth. Stay here just for a moment. Hands reach down. See if you can lift your tail just slightly up towards the ceiling. Inhale, half lift, so the tail's still slightly lifted. Crown is forward. Exhale, fold, release, bend the knees. Drop yourself into yet another squat if that works for you. Or hands can walk back just behind the hips and bring yourself to a seat on the earth. So we're either squatted with bent knees, feet positioned, or you're on your tail, knees up towards your chest. All right, those who are not already tail towards the earth, start to walk the hands behind you. Start to settle those hips down towards the earth. All right, we're gonna take our time to move about halfway back the mat so that we can make our legs go nice and long. I'm gonna turn just so I can see. My legs are gonna go this way. We'll put them straight out in front of you. You're gonna bring that right knee in towards your chest again, like we were doing when we were lying down. We're gonna let that right knee fall out to the side just like we were doing early on in the practice. Your inhale breath stretches the hands up over the head. Exhale breath, we start to fold towards that leg. Toes kind of flexing back towards the face, long spine, chest coming down towards the earth. As your next natural inhale comes around, hands lift back up. You're going to take your right hand, so the same as the bent knee. That arm's going to reach slightly back behind you. Turn the fingers so that they face that wall behind. And then just start to lift the hips up off the earth. Opposite hand reaches up and over the head, kind of pointing to that wall behind you. Lots of length for the side body. Good arm strength on that hand that's positioning itself down on the earth. And then just start to settle those hips back down. Stand your right knee up. And then you're just going to take just a gentle twist, look over that right shoulder. So nothing too big. We've done a lot of twisting today. So just a little twist here. Perfect. Chest comes back to center and we switch out our legs. We're ready for left knee to come in. Left knee falls out. Sits bones find themselves glued, toes flexing up towards the face, hands lifting tall. And then when you're ready, down and around that foot or near your shin. Always remembering to hinge at that hip crease, trying to pull this right leg back towards the body as the chest lifts up and over that hip crease. Next natural inhale, we'll take our time. Chest starts to come up, hands come up. This time the left hand, so the same bent knee out to the side. That hand's going to reach back behind us, point away from our body, plant so that the heel just a couple feet out behind us, and then lift the hips up off the earth and start to reach back towards that wall. That one to me always feels a little useful and silly. Start to bring the hips down. You're still young. Hands come to the earth, stand this knee up. And then you're going to take that same gentle twist. Of course, you can welcome this over, but we don't really need a big twist today. So whatever feels like it makes the most sense in your body, just easy over that left shoulder. All right, perfect. Chest starts to move itself back towards center. Legs go long, knees get a little kind of jostling, and then we'll bring feet back up the mat and start to head back to your back. Of course, if you have a block and it's handy, you can keep it close. You might want another inversion, though we did do several down dogs and our rabbit today to flip us upside down. But if you'd like to lift your feet up into the air, maybe with the support of a block underneath your back, you can take waterfall pose right here if that makes sense to you. That's a simple one to get into. If you have a block, it goes right at the sacrum. And then the feet lift up tall. Of course, if you don't need that, feel free to bring the soles of the feet to meet one another. Let the knees fall out to the side, and you can have yourself a little Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined bound angle. either of those suggested poses. You can stay in for 3 or 4 breaths, maybe a little bit longer. We're definitely to the part of today's practice where things should feel like less work, more about making some final connections with the breath, really listening to that intuitive voice, that inner voice that's telling you what needs its final movements, it needs its final stretches before you can start to feel complete. So just take your time, knowing that if any other poses start to talk louder than the 2 that I've just described, take your time to find your way into either of those. Maybe you need something else for your hips, or a twist. Maybe just that constructive rest even feels nice, like we opened in with the feet walking towards outer edges of the mat, bringing the knees to find one another towards the center of your mat. Or a longer savasana is always welcome as well. But the final stages of every yoga practice are about letting everything start to settle back into place. No longer just putting force and attention into each physical posture. It's not about that. It's about us just letting go. Writing that final thank you letter to our physical body for the asana that we have moved through, that particular branch of yoga. And now we'll start to move into the meditative final stages of today's practice. So for most of you, that might look like traditional savasana with legs fully extended down the mat, heels resting on the earth, perhaps with toes rolling towards the outer edges of the mat. Maybe the hands stay across the belly or the heart. You might bring them out to the sides of your body and turn your palms to face the ceiling, the back of the head, rooting into the earth, but kind of letting your nose sway a little bit side to side. Slowly starting to become aware of your breath. Allowing for gentle, easy movements to come back into the body. Maybe starting easy by wiggling the toes or wiggling the fingers. Depending on what final pose you chose for Savasana, the next movements may be up to you. Bending the knees and bringing them in closer to the body, maybe rocking side to side before ultimately finding yourself resting on your right hand side, using that right arm as a pillow. As the body feels ready, we'll press into the earth, starting to come back up to a seated posture, closing out the class very similar to how we began, connecting to the breath, closing the eyes, maybe even bringing palm to palm, let them rest right at the heart. Leaving today's practice with the same thoughts we began. It's only a thought, and a thought can be changed. I am not limited by any past thinking. I choose my thoughts with care. I constantly have new insights and new ways of looking at my world. I'm willing to change and grow. I constantly have new insights and new ways of looking at my world, and I'm willing to change and grow. I greatly appreciate you making time for yourself today, not only for your physical body, but for your mind and spirit as well, to come and refill your tank right here on your yoga mat. May you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again. Namaste. Thank you.